Gamers, how's it going? Have y'all been enjoying the new Honkai Star Rail update? I sure haven't because I've been playing a different game, but I hope y'all have. So let's talk about let's talk about the girl herself, SilverWolf, the gamer XD LOL woo girl herself that has a fox avatar as her little sticker there, her little pin. But let's look at her. So I did a little bit of looking at her before, saw some videos and seeing what she's all about, and a lot of people are like, oh, this is the god tier character. Everyone, all free to plays need to pull her. And after further researching, looking at her kit a little more, thinking about it a bit, seeing what kind of free stuff we can get, because this is a light cone they let you try out, her 5-star light cone. But I saw the free one that they gave you, and all of that just screams that this is the free-to-play character. It truly is. Now, let's go over some of her stuff real quick. So her talent is awaiting system response. SilverWolf can create 3 types of bugs, and one of them is reduce attack, one's reduce defense, and one's reduce speed. So reduce attack, don't really care about that. Defense and speed, that just means that you get to kill them even faster. And every time SilverWolf attacks, she has a 69% base chance to implement a random bug that lasts for 3 turns to the enemy target. That's pretty good. That's just icing on the cake. The one thing that sucks is that you have to hope that you don't get the reduced attack, because you don't really care about that. I mean, you can just heal the damage or tank it with a shield. You really want the defense or the speed, so it's good that they have these two, so you have a 2 out of 3 chance of getting it. Her technique, it does quantum damage to everyone, ignores weakness types, and reduces toughness from all enemies. It's a technique. Basic attack, it just does a lot of quantum damage. And by the way, this is a level 80 SilverWolf. Her traces are maxed out. So all of these numbers, like this number right here, it's going to be after you get her very leveled up. It's not going to be out of the gate or anything. You're going to have to invest in her quite a bit to get to this. So her skill is a dictionary to read, and I'm just going to sum it up like this. So she has an 82 base chance to apply 1 weakness on the enemy that of the characters that you have that the enemy isn't weak against yet. So let's say the enemy is weak only to electro. Well, you pop her ability on it, and now they're weak to physical. So it just applies a random debuff that makes them weak against one thing, and it lasts for 3 turns. And it also makes them weak against, it lasts for 2 turns, and then you have this thing down here that makes it last for 1 more turn, but we'll get to that. But it makes them take more damage just from all element types as well. So even if they're not weak against, even if you put it on the electro guy, and you get a physical on them, and you hit them with, let's say, cryo, they'll still take more damage, which is very nice. So you're still doing like more damage against them with other element types that isn't even matching it, just for free. Another thing is that it does a pretty good amount of quantum damage. But let's talk about the ult, the pretty big hitting ultimate that does a lot of things, and it does them all well. So there's a 96% base chance to decrease the target enemy's defense. So this base chance already, remember, we're at level 80. This is a level 8 skill. They already leveled it up to level 8, but it has a 96% base chance, and the defense decreased is 42%. That's pretty fat. You're going to be hitting very big numbers against anyone who has their defense decreased that low. That is very, very nice. And on top of that, you have a huge hitting quantum damage ultimate that will do a buttload of damage. I mean, 342% of SilverWolf's attack. That's very good. That's almost on par with our last quantum 5-star Sealy. But let's look over some of her level ups here. So bug duration extended for 1 turn. Every time an enemy is inflicted with a weakness break, SilverWolf has a 65% base chance to chance of implementing a random bug on the enemy. That's pretty nice. Let's go on. Duration of the weakness implemented by SilverWolf's skill increases by 1 turn. That's very nice. That means that you can go through 3 turns instead of 2 turns. You can go through 3 turns rotations of being able to have that weakness effect on them, and that also means that you won't have to use this skill on the same person. So if you're only fighting a boss, you will only have to use that skill point once, and you won't have to use it for another 3 turns. You can just wail on them constantly. Now the final one, I clicked on the wrong thing. The final one, if there are 3 or more debuffs affecting the enemy with the skill when the skill is used, and the skill decreases the enemy's all type resistance by an additional 3%. Now that's, I don't see that happening a lot unless you're like focusing on getting all the debuffs on them, or getting like lucky with some of the bug procs to get on them. It's one of those things that you just build up over time, and it's kind of nice, especially if you're just fighting a single target enemy, but it's not something that you're going to write home about. It's not anything that's going to be insane or massive damage. Now, one thing to note is when you use the skill on an enemy, and let's say we put quantum damage type on them, that they're now weak to quantum damage. They weren't weak before. If you pop the skill again on the enemy, then it will change the quantum damage to a different damage type. So it might be quantum again, or it might be something else. You don't know. It'll be random again. So that's one of the downsides, I'd say. And the reason I want to say that that's a downside is because let's say you want to do additional damage. Let's say you have all this procced and you want to do more damage. Well, I'd rather hit them with my skill or my ultimate instead of just my 90% scaling basic attack. So you just won't be able to use your skill against them, or it will remove the debuff on them. Now, the way that you can work around this is if you have an all quantum damage type, you know, your entire team is quantum damage type, and so you can just spam it on them as much as you want, and it'll just keep proccing quantum damage weakness break on them, since that's the only damage type you have. Now, we don't have enough characters in the game to have that, so that's one of the things that we're going to be looking towards in the future as something to try out. But right now, no one has that, since there's only 3 quantum characters and 2 of them are 5 stars. So let's do a little trial with her. Whoopsie, I'm zoomed in for the intro. Let's do a little trial and I'll showcase some of these things I was talking about before. Now let's do her technique, which is pretty cool. It's a cannon. Let's talk about her aesthetic. I kind of like it, kind of don't. So I like that she has like minions. Well, she doesn't really use them ever in her play style, but she has these minions in her card art, and they're all like different elements. Like they got the warrior, you got the mage, you got all that. I think that's so cute and cool, but they're never in game. So I wish like her weapon here would change instead of just being a sword, but I guess it kind of changes. It changes to a blaster, but I mean, it's only 2 things. I guess they can only change it to 2 things, but kind of wish it wasn't a blaster. It was like a shield or something. I think that would be cool. That would be very gamer, you know, or maybe a mage staff or something. That would be cool, not just, you know, it shoot, it go burr. As you saw there, put the quantum damage type effect on him, so now he's weak to quantum. And that's the best thing about free to play. So now I can break his weakness that I wasn't able to do before because I didn't have quantum on him. And that's just the best part that everyone wants to focus on, is just being able to apply a weakness on them that just wasn't there ever before. Now I'm going to apply it on him, and we got quantum again. I'll just go through this real quick, try to get to SilverWolf's turn again. So I'm going to apply it again, and it hits him first for that weakness. Oh no, it doesn't. So I didn't even weakness break them there. So since he was weak to quantum and I hit him again, it removes the buff first. Then it does the damage. Then it applies a new weakness to it. So that whole weakness break that I could have gotten there, it was wasted, completely wasted, because I was trying to capitalize on it. So her skill is really just good for applying the debuff. Like, I wouldn't use it for damage, because unless they are naturally weak to quantum damage, I wouldn't use it to do damage against the character, because then you're just removing the buff on them, and you're not even doing the weakness break effect of quantum on them.
Who's next?
One of those things that's like, oh, it put on physical damage and my only physical dealer is my healer, so let me change it. That's like the only reason I could see someone using this skill multiple times on a single target.
This combat needs optimizing.
To try out the ultimate here.
Let's go.
Pop. It does fat damage, and now look at all that defense that they're just shredded. Now this is gonna deal a not substantial amount of damage because it is that character. Hit him with this big boy damage. We're hitting 5k though. I think I just procced the bug on him. I think I might have procced the bug on him. Let's check. Yeah, I got the bug on him procced. That's probably why we're dealing a little bit more damage. And I'm assuming what happens is that I'm not sure. I guess theory crafters, you can look for them, but I'm assuming that it stacks the buffs. So first it removes a 40% of their defense, and then it removes a 7% after that. I'm assuming that's what's happening. It's not doing like, oh, 44% plus 7% and then you remove it or anything like that. Well, I'm not a math major, so that might have been the same thing. Now, one thing that I'd like to say, this is fat for her. And I'm pretty sure throughout the entire event, we're going to be able to max this out to level 5. So even if you get her as a character, you don't even have to go for her light cone, which is the best part about her. You can just focus primarily on getting her. Once you get her, you can get this free light cone that gives you everything you want. You want effect hit rate, so you can guarantee all the effects, all the bugs proccing, all your ultimate proccing, the defense shred, you know. You want all of that to have just maximum amount of effect hit rate. And then on top of that, you regen energy. And that is huge. I don't think that that's what the 5-star light cone does. So I'm pretty sure this is considered better in the long run, just because the ultimate does so much for you. It does so much shred. It has a high chance of applying a bug. It's insane. And it lasts for 3 whole turns of 40% less defense on the enemy. That is huge. That is massive. And remember, it's based off of their turns, not your turn. So you can rotate constantly. And let's say you have a speed team, you can rotate more times than actually 3 turns. So you could go like 5 turns before it ever actually removes a 40% debuff on them. So that is just huge. And then you can stack that on with the energy, so you can always have that procced. Possibly, as long as you have a speed team, you can always have that procced on them. So SilverWolf is for a free-to-play team comp. If you were going strictly for, let's say, how good characters are, and just you're trying to get only the best characters, I feel like she's not something that you go wrong with. She is extremely good in that aspect of the game. Now, one thing I would like you to remember is that we're getting Luocha during this patch as well. And if you've looked at Luocha, he is the unkillable god. So you can decide on, let's say, oh, I want to go SilverWolf to where I can always have an element procced on them. But if you're not worried about that, if you don't care about any of that, maybe you already are using like, let me go to my characters. Let's say you're a Pela main and you don't necessarily care about adding an element weakness to an enemy because you're always running the elements that they're weak against. Let's say you're running like that. Well, then maybe Luocha would be a better cop for you, because Luocha makes everyone in your team unkillable. Everyone heals constantly, and he heals for free without using a skill point. So it's something that you really have to look out for, you know, depending on whether or not you want those characters. And then, you know, we got next patch after that you have to look out for. But I just want y'all to all keep that in mind when pulling. You know, personally, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think I'm going to pull at all because Kafka's just too hot not to pull. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, Johnny.